Whether you know it or not, you know it. It has many names: the Dolly Zoom, vertigo effect, Hitchcock effect. Whatever you call it, it's a wild effect that can transform an average scene into something special.
What?
So what is the Dolly Zoom? Well, it's just that. It's a camera dolly and a zoom at the same time. This is an effective camera trick that, while sometimes disorienting, can change the entire mood of your scene. It's a favorite in horror movies, typically used to exaggerate fear or to express a character's emotions as their world is being turned upside down. However, it can go much further than the classic portrayals. It can be used to focus your attention or give the viewer a suffocating feeling as the world closes in on them. In our example today, we will use this effect to gradually reveal the full scene, showing off multiple products.
Okay, so now that we know why we do this camera trick, let's look at how we do this camera trick with Inside 3D. Now today I'm going to be using Cinema 4D, but you can use whatever package you like. The concepts apply to all of them. Okay, so let's just jump in. Now the first thing you need to know about this camera effect is that it requires a strong foreground, midground, and background objects. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be talking about is scene setup. So what I have here is I have our foreground purse, which is going to be our hero object, the thing that we're going to be focused on the whole time. This is what we want to pay attention to. And then we have everything else in the background. So we have our foreground, our midground here, which are these two purses, and then way in the distance we have our background. And I'll just kind of come up here so you can see what I'm talking about here. Now, if you don't have at least some sort of separation, this trick just really isn't going to work that well. And I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay, so now that we have that, let's talk about how to actually achieve this. Okay, so the camera effect is called a dolly zoom, and that's exactly what it is. Now, if you don't know what a dolly is, all it is just moving your camera forward and back. That's all it is. That's all a dolly is. So you're moving your camera back, and while you're doing that, you're actually zooming the camera. You're either zooming in or out, right? You're either moving it in or out as you're moving forward and back. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. Now, what you need to decide for yourself is if you want to reveal the background first or second, because that's essentially what's going to happen, right? Because when you have, let's go ahead and look through our camera here. So with our hero camera, what we have is we have a focal length of 35. So that's a pretty wide lens. So it's going to give us more real estate. We're going to be able to see more things. Okay. Whereas if I put this to a longer focal length, you're going to see that it's going to narrow out and we're going to just see less things. And on top of that, it's going to flatten out too, right? So you're going to get more distortion around the sides when you have a wider lens and less distortion when you have a longer lens. So for this situation, what I would like to do is I would like to, first of all, show this purse, the foreground purse, and then I would like to reveal the background second. All right, so essentially where we are now is we're on our last keyframe. So this is where I want the shot to end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our coordinates and I'm going to go ahead and set a keyframe for our Z position because I know this is where I want to end. And I also know that this is the focal length that I want, right? I want to end like this and I want it to be wide and I want to reveal everything. So let's go ahead and set a keyframe here for that. And then let's go to our first frame. And then what I want to do is I want to take this camera, I want to dolly it back. I'm going to dolly it back way far. I don't really know how far. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, maybe around here. And then the trick here is you want to zoom in, right? So if you look down here, you're going to see that the lens is going to narrow, 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 and it's going to get tighter and tighter. So what we want to do is we want to try to get the first and the last position to match our hero object. Now let's see how close I got. Pretty close, but I think that the first one needs to be closer. So let's go bring it just a little bit closer. Yeah. So now you can really truly see, if I come here, you can really truly see what's happening. So when we're on our long lens, you'll see that the purse flattens out. When we're in our wide lens, everything gets kind of distorted and yeah, bulges out a little bit more. Okay, so before we actually play this, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go back and talk about what I mentioned at the beginning, the importance of scene setup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the lines on here and I'm just going to hit play and you're going to see what's happening. Now you'll see that it's not that impressive, and this is why I wanted to talk about the importance of scene setup from the start, because if you don't have those strong foreground, mid, and background elements, not much really happens. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of this rock stretching and whatnot, but well, let's turn on our other geo and now you can see the true effect of what's happening here, right? You can see that everything is stretching out and you're getting that really cool kind of trippy effect that we want, right? We're getting our purses to reveal themselves second. So at first, we have this, and then we're creating more interest as the scene moves on, which is so great. Which is what's so great about this is we can use it to our advantage to tell a story in a way that is maybe a little more interesting than just showing everything at once. All right. So I want to look at the top view and just one more time, I want to look and see what it's doing. So let's go to our first frame. Again, we have a long lens that's zoomed in and it's pushed out really far. And as it moves forward, you're going to see it's going to widen out. That's it. That's the trick. That's all it is. The key is, once again, your scene setup, and you want to make sure that your first and last positions are pretty much, your hero object is pretty much centered up. Now, if you want to take this one step further and make it even trippier, let's go ahead and, if you want to get real crazy, you can come in here and let's just set like a rotation keyframe. So at our first frame, let's say we want it to be kind of turned. That's pretty extreme. We'll see how it looks. And then on our last keyframe, let's just set it back to 0. Okay. Let's see how that looks. Now, this is what's kind of cool though, because if you're in a horror movie or something, or if you're doing something really trippy, or someone, their world just got turned upside down or whatever, you can keep pushing this further and further and further. You can put longer lenses and wider lenses, and it'll just be even that more crazy. So that's it. That's going to do it for today. Pretty simple one today, but super powerful tool to know. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one.